Hi, I'm Kennedy Cox, and I'm a student at Xavier University of Louisiana in New Orleans. I transferred to Xavier in the fall of 2017, and when I got here, everybody was telling me about all the awesome parades and carnival season. One specifically that everybody was telling me about was the Lundi Gras Festival. So in February, I went down with my friends to Woldenberg Park to experience the 25th annual Lundi Gras Festival hosted by the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club. I'm really excited to share my Lundi Gras experience, but before we get there, we gotta start back from the beginning.
The concept of celebrating on Fat Tuesday has always existed, but it derives from one of the oldest Mardi Gras crews in the city, Rex. So I sat down with Dr. Hales, the crew's historian, to learn more about it.
Rex was founded in 1872. Rex is the oldest parading organization. It was founded with a real specific purpose to help New Orleans recover in the years after the Civil War.
Meanwhile, in 1909, another crew out of the 7th Ward began to develop. These people were the Tramps and the Benevolent Aid Society. After attending a show at the Britannia Theater, the members were inspired by a skit titled, "There Never Was and Never Will Be a King Like Me." Then, the group paraded as the Zulus. Since then, the organization has grown. In 1993, one man came up with the idea of the Lundi Gras Festival for the organization. That man was George Rainey.
We're sitting on the river one Saturday morning, along with a vice president today for carrying over on the side of the river. And there was a need for the boat to land on Mardi Gras morning where the king just boarded, and they had closed the bayou or the basin. The boats used to come in on the basin where the I-10 is at now. And when they closed that, they tried coming in at the Governor Nichols Street walk. They tried coming in on the Canal Street. And I asked Karen, this person who's affiliated with the Audubon Society, what would happen if King Zulu came in at the foot of Canal Street on Lundi Gras morning? She said, I don't know. She went to the rank, several days later she called me back and told me it was a good deal. That was the birth of the Lundi Gras Festival. So 25 years ago and growing, we have a Lundi Gras Festival.
Lundi Gras itself is huge. It's the day before Mardi Gras. It's the day that we celebrate the culmination of months put together of our organization throughout the months of carnival season. It's an opportunity to share with the community, with the city of New Orleans, and contribute to the city's, culture. Lundi Gras itself is very indebted to us, and we owe that indebtedness to George Rainey and a couple of brothers dating back to 1993 that came up with that idea of us bestowing Lundi Gras and sharing it with the world. In 1993, what you see today wasn't what you see in 93. 93, it started off as something small, but it outlived our expectation of what it was to be. And we give most homage, most respect to Brother George Rainey with the idea, with the concept that he gave, and with those brothers that assisted him in gathering those permits, those logistical opportunities, and everything that come on with doing something that's major on a river.
Were there ever any complications with the Audubon organization when it came to developing Lundi Gras?
Didn't have no complication, nothing whatsoever. She told me that she was going to present it to the board, and the next thing I know, she presented it to me.
What was that process like, waiting to get the final reapproved?
It wasn't no process. It might have been a week. She called and told me it was a deal. I reported back to the president and the board of the Zulu Club and told them that we could have our arrival of King Zulu in the Audubon Park, and we could inject this big party that we have now. And that's it, baby.
While the party is going on at Woldenberg Park for Zulu, the day looks different for members of the Rex organization.
For many, many years, going back to the very beginnings of Mardi Gras, Rex arrived by river and greeted the mayor and received the key to the city. That stopped for many, many years and came back really in the 1980s with a Lundi Gras Celebration down at the Riverwalk. So wrecks continue to arrive by river. Lundi Gras is a busy day for wrecks. And I think it's a busy day for Zulu too. I think they have lots of activities through the day. Early in the morning, there's a rehearsal for the ball, and at the ballroom where that will be held. We hosted a luncheon for family and friends at Antoine's that moved immediately to buses to go to the Den to prepare for the Lundi Gras evening, which means getting costume, getting a beard, getting everything ready to go. Buses to take us to the Public Belt Railroad Station to get on those antique rail cars to start the trip down to Riverwalk. The celebration there is beautifully choreographed, but that came off well. Then coming back to the Den to change out of those costumes and to go home and try to get a little rest before things start very early on Mardi Gras.
That opportunity started back in the early 90s, whereas we met the King of Carnival. The King of Carnival is Rex, and the Zulu organization is one of the premier organizations of Mardi Gras. So it was an opportunity where King Zulu and Rex, the King of Carnival, met prior to Mardi Gras Day.
In 1997, when Zulu included their festival, their day-long festival, what kind of impact did it have on Lundi Gras as a whole?
Oh, well, it really doubled its impact, and again, it became more inclusive, which is what Mardi Gras really is about. At one time, Rex and Zulu, I think, barely communicated. They kind of, Zulu paraded, Rex paraded. Later on, it appeared to be an almost adversarial relationship. Not openly, but Zulu was always making Rex late, and these guys doing this on purpose just to show, we'll show you. I never believed that, and I still don't. But there was some of that tension, and then all of a sudden, things started coming together.
With Rex, it's just merely agreement. Now, one thing that happened when we decided to have the parade and do the Lundi Gras Festival that bothered Rex was the fact that they were concerned about the population that was just across the railroad tracks with them, would it interfere with what they were doing. We promised Rex that at the end of the day, that we would take those people out of the park with second-line bands, and we did. We came out the Ember Street to Decatur Street and marched them people to Partridge Street, and instead of going left, we went right. And going right, we was taking the crowd away from the riverfront totally all together. So we've never had no problem with that. That was the only major discussion that we had when they decided to approve the Lundi Gras Festival for Zulu.
So there is a little bit of competition on Lundi Gras Day then?
No, how can there be competition? You on one side of the track, I'm on the other side of the track. You going right, and I'm going left. Now, what's the conflict?
The two organizations have worked together to give back to the city by hosting various donation opportunities to schools around the community.
The organizations, Rex and Zulu, have had a close relationship for many, many years, certainly as long as I've been a member of Rex. The fact that we share the parade route on Mardi Gras Day means there's a certain amount of coordination. But what we've really worked carefully with Zulu leadership over the last decades is to do even more things together. We have regular dinners together. We work together in collaborative ways to help the city.
The decision was made to give back after the crews felt like they needed to bring back the city after the 2005 devastation and Hurricane Katrina. There is no record of how many people died, but communities were washed away. In 2006, many New Orleanians wondered if the crews were going to ride that Mardi Gras season, and they did.
That was the most important Mardi Gras ever. A great debate in the national community, but more so locally. should we have a Mardi Gras, and can we have a Mardi Gras? Two very different questions. The city could tell the parading organizations, it's off and destroyed, there's no Mardi Gras. The city could not say, you will parade. The private clubs had to make that decision. Some of them couldn't or chose not to. Most of them said, you know what, we need this. We're down, but we're not out. We want to send a signal to the world that we're going to come back. But even if they don't get the message, even if no one comes, we need this for ourselves. Nationally, we took a beating PR-wise. People thought we were absolutely crazy. The Sunday before Fat Tuesday, the Tourist Commission set up a media center inside the Sheraton Hotel downtown. And many of us who can talk in 30-second sound bites sat there and had people, reporters, I mean, I must have done 30 interviews, national, international. And to a person, they were antagonistic. It was like, how can you do this? Or how can you be so insensitive to celebrate when you've got people, you know, living on the streets? They just didn't get it, you know. The few reporters that stayed to do a debriefing after Katrina said, oh, we get it. You had to do this. Now we understand this. This was wonderful. It's a very emotional Mardi Gras. You know, normally people hold up signs saying, throw me something, mister. That year the sign said, thank you.
When we came back, when we all started to come back to New Orleans, this is one of the few times in American history a whole city's been emptied out. And to come back, you had to have a place to stay, you had to have a job, you had to have a school for your children to go to. It was a terribly traumatic time. If you get a bunch of New Orleanians together anywhere in the world, sooner or later everyone starts talking about Katrina. In terms of Mardi Gras, that was pretty far down the list of things that we saw as vital to come back, and yet it's part of who we are. And part of the conversation that we started to have with the city leadership and with others is, should there be Mardi Gras that year? This is a city very much rebuilding. The ultimate decision was that we could, our message to the city leaders was, if this can be done safely, if it's something that doesn't consume undue resources that the city needs for other causes, if it's something that will help the city, and if our Zulu friends can be on the parade route also. We told them very clearly that we would not parade unless Zulu could parade.
Let me inject something. And it's documented in a book that was published by some people. And the title of the subject is When Zulu Said Mardi Gras. And what happened, people were more or less trying to decide, should you have Mardi Gras? They had a group of people in Atlanta that was saying that we shouldn't have Mardi Gras. And they called a meeting at City Hall. The vice president at that time was Naaman Stewart, and I was a board member. And we appeared before the city council. And then appearing before the city councils, they questioned us about Mardi Gras and should Mardi Gras be canceled. And when Naaman and I finished delivering our thoughts and what we was prepared to do, Mardi Gras went on as usual. Now there is no other story. Zulu did save Mardi Gras. It was a daring, because I can remember the president of the city council saying, whatever Zulu have to parade, let us know, we'll give it to them. And we paraded. It was no different than no other parade with or without Katrina, believe me. Most people, I'd say just about all the people, don't remember that festival as the festival after Katrina. They still remember it as the Lundi Gras Festival.
Both of these crews are different from one another and unique and have their own impact on the community. Even the festivals seem totally different.
It all boils down to F-U-N. Music, food, alcohol. That, you got a name, Lundi Gras Festival, and that's it.
That's exactly why the people seem to love it.
Me being heavily involved, I mean, Lundi Gras is getting bigger and bigger every year, to the point where I'm like, maybe we need to increase the 4 stages, maybe we need to go into the quarters, and it'd be we might outdo the French Quarter Fest, and that's just my humble opinion, but Lundi Gras is huge.
God forbid, 40 years from now, somebody says, let's cancel Lundi Gras. What would you tell them?
Well, what did people say just 50 years ago about them today? You know, when I went in Zulu, they didn't own a building. Today, they own a brand new building, they got another building, they got a shop, and they got several other pieces of property. So time and people bring changes, because the old saying, if you know better, you do better. And so as we learn better, we got to do better.
So through all your hard work, you wouldn't be upset if somebody said that? 50 years from now, let's cancel it.
No. 50 years from now, I won't be around, but I'm more than sure Zulu will still exist. You're going to have some better minds, too. So God knows what's on the book.